Welcome to the Executive Hub. My name is Amanda Rogers, and I am the host of the velocityHUB Executive Hub series, where we have interactive conversations with executives about strategic and high-level business concepts, as well as the tactical day-to-day actions for getting stuff done and driving organizations of all types. Our goal is to help you see into the minds of impressive strategic thinkers, executive leaders, and successful business owners so that you can learn from their mistakes and emulate their successes. On today's Executive Hub, we will learn about the impact of values, leadership, and culture on the success of an organization, understand and learn from the strategic thought process of an innovative CEO, and leverage career tips to develop your own leadership and enter leadership roles. This month, I'm excited to have Tom Boucher, CEO of Great New Hampshire Restaurants, on the Executive Hub, someone we have been lucky to work with over the last few years at velocityHUB. Tom graduated from Merrimack College and earned a full academic scholarship to attend Villanova University as a graduate student, but forewent this opportunity because he fell in love with the restaurant business. Over the next 5 years, he worked his way up through T-Bones as a food server, dining room manager, head kitchen manager, and finally to general manager. Tom was then brought on as a founding partner of Cactus Jack's, which opened in 1995. He held the store's general manager position until 1998, when he took on additional responsibilities as the director of marketing and subsequently director of operations for T-Bones and Cactus Jack's. In 2004, Tom became CEO and has been providing strong leadership and entrepreneurial vision that has guided the company's 3 restaurant brands, totaling 8 restaurants, to its current success. Most recently, he has broadened his innovative business approach by opening T-Bones Meats, Sweets, and Catering, Skirbit, Critic.com, and the Great New Hampshire Restaurants Charitable Trust, feednh.org. Tom's vision is to become the premier restaurant company in New Hampshire. So with that, I'd like to welcome you, Tom, to the Executive Hub. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Amanda.
You're welcome. So we're here at the Copper Door, and over the last few years, having worked with you, I've become familiar with the restaurant concepts that you have, but would you mind just expanding on those a little bit more?
Yeah, so as you said, we have 3 restaurant brands. We have T-Bones, Great American Eatery, started in 1984. We have 5 of those. We have 2 Cactus Jacks and 1 Copper Door, soon to be 2. We're building a second Copper Door in Salem.
Okay, great. So can you talk me through T-Bones? What's the concept? How would you describe the concept?
T-Bones, I would describe it as a very approachable, casual dining geared towards families. Maybe we definitely own the senior market. Seniors really love our food because it's comfort food. It's food that they're familiar with. We make everything from scratch. And that's really one of our core values, is that we make everything from scratch. And moving on to Cactus Jack's, it's more Southwestern. It's geared towards younger people like yourself. It's a little more hip, a little more fun. The bar scene's a little more hopping. And then Copper Door is more upscale. It's definitely geared towards a more affluent customer. The food, again, is made from scratch, but it's a little more contemporary American, new American, but still have that comfort food. We call it approachable new American comfort food.
Yeah. So
you can find pretty much anything on any of our menus. If you're in the mood for Southwestern, you go to Cactus Jack's. You're in the mood for really casual, comfortable environment, you go to T-Bones. You want something a little more upscale, you come to Copper Door.
Yeah, and that's what I like about the Copper Door too, is that it does have that upscale feel, but you can still feel really comfortable there.
Yeah, and that was the plan. The plan was really to create an atmosphere that was classy but not pretentious. And thus the name, even the name Copper Door, kind of tells you it's upscale, but it's not. That's why it's not called the Gold Door.
Good point. Can you tell us a little bit more about the name, the Copper Door?
Yeah, so give my wife a little plug here. She's the one that came up with the name. One day we were dining at another restaurant, and she just said this place should just be turned into a different restaurant called the Copper Door. And she actually took a napkin out and drew what the door would look like, and we actually have an example of it as you walk in the Copper Door. There's a little plaque that explains the name. And again, The three things that we love about the name is that A, it really describes what people can expect when they come in. B, it's very memorable. How many times you've been to a restaurant and you just can't remember the restaurant's name because it's just not memorable. And the third thing is, once you actually see it and touch the door, it just adds that another layer of implanting it in your mind.
Yeah. Actually, one thing that is implanted in my mind now is on our way in today, it says pull the door with passion.
Pull with
Because
passion,
it's got
right.
a little extra weight to it, but it's an impressive piece of the concept. And, speaking of the concepts, if you were thinking about building a new concept, so you've been around for 2 developments. So I know you started when it was just T-Bones and then with Cactus Jacks and Copper Door. Why do you think that Great New Hampshire Restaurants did that so successfully? What were some of the keys?
I think, and this is it's obvious to me, but it's not necessarily obvious to the general public. Location is it is the key to at least attempting to get to a successful place. You're going to pay money for it. They're not inexpensive. You can get lower priced locations, but you're just not going to do the volume that you need to do. One of the keys to our success is that we are very high volume restaurants. We do a lot of covers, if you will, and the reason our formula is such that because we make everything from scratch and we have a lot of management, we need to do a lot of volume. So sometimes people will say, why don't you put T-Bones in Peterborough? There's no restaurants in Peterborough. That's actually true. But we wouldn't do the sales volume that we need to do to make the formula work. And we'll just make it smaller. That doesn't work because we still need the same amount of managers, the same amount of overhead. It's just there's a very specific formula that just works for us.
Okay, great. And then I know in some of our conversations you talked about in building a new concept, all it really takes is the name, location being so important, and then an excellent menu that's kind of different than what you currently have. So this has come up a few times already in this conversation, and it's been clear to me over the last few years that you're a very values-driven organization. I know Made from Scratch is one of your values. Can you walk us through your values and what they mean?
So we actually, you have the book that we developed a few years ago, and through that process of this book, we worked with someone to help us really take a look at our values and our culture and actually get it from where it lived in everybody's minds and actually put it down on paper. Because a lot of times when companies talk about culture, they haven't really defined it. And so we spent the time and the resources to sit down for a few days with all of our leaders and said, what are some of the things that we really put high on the list of the things we want to live and breathe and walk and talk every single day. So we came up with 6 of them. As I already said, one of them is Made from Scratch, which is it's actually a double meaning. We pride ourselves obviously on making all of our food from scratch, but we also pride ourselves on developing our people from scratch. So, of all the top leaders in our company, every single one of them, including myself, started out in an hourly position. And then over the years, we've developed people using Velocity for training to get people to move up to different positions and succeed. So that's Made from Scratch kind of has that double meaning for us.
Yeah.
And then we have Care and Concern, and that really is something that lives very deeply in our company. Our employees care about each other. They have concern for each other. They care for our customers. So it's kind of an all-encompassing thing. And it really comes from the top down. I mean, we spend an enormous amount of resources taking care of our employees. Like, that's just really, really important to us and has been for a very long time.
Sure.
Then we have respect. And respect is, I think it just goes without saying that you want to have respect and for every single employee at every level. And again, because all of our leaders have been in an hourly position. They have that insight and respect for the dishwasher who's washing every single dish by himself on a Tuesday night. It's just as hard as the bartender that's making drinks. It's just a different job, but we just want everybody to have that respect. Then we have trust and entrust. And the trust part is, and this really resonates at the leadership level with our leadership team, we all trust each other that we're going to do the jobs that we're supposed to be doing. I don't lean over Lisa Allen, our Chief Administrative Officer's shoulder. I trust that she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, and she does a tremendous job with it. And then the entrust part is we truly entrust our managing operators. Those are the individual store managers. We call them managing operators, but a lot of places call them general managers. We entrust them to run these businesses, and they're running multi-million-dollar businesses with obviously bumpers. It's not like they've got free reign to do whatever they want, but they really are entrusted to run these businesses. Next one is, it's my favorite, it's courage. And that was one that we kind of talked a long time about, like, what does that really mean? And the courage part is we just encourage people to have the courage to try different things. It's okay to try them. They're not all going to work, and that's okay. But at least take a little step out of your comfort zone and try something different, whether it be a special or creating a new program for an employee reward program or marketing. I mean, we do all kinds of crazy things and just see what works. And then the last one is executing greatness. And we thought that this was an interesting one because we noticed we didn't say executing perfection. And the reason is, I don't care what business you're in, but in particular the restaurant business, you're not going to be perfect. You're just not. We serve 2 million items a year. If we're great at 99.9%, there's still going to be 2,000 items that weren't made right. And so when you put it into that perspective, we're doing a really good job at 99.9. So executing greatness is just a really important thing that I hear it a lot actually with our managers talking about that. It's just a nice way of saying, be great. And of course it ties in with Great New Hampshire Restaurants.
Yes.
Which worked out nice.
Very creative. And I think one comment I'll make is that you talk about courage and almost kind of having the courage to try different things, and some may be successful, and more often than not, they seem to be. But it ties into executing greatness in the sense that it's not executing perfect, because if we did that, we wouldn't have a whole lot of courage. But since we allow for that 99.9%, you create the environment to be courageous. Yeah. I know you were recently named Restaurateur of the Year by New Hampshire Lodging and Restaurant Association. You also serve on several boards, so I know you're familiar with the industry now. What do you think has helped Great New Hampshire be successful in the industry and continue to grow?
We're really good to our employees, and that's purposeful on our part. There's a saying that, your customers won't love your company until your employees do, and we live and breathe that. We treat our customers really good, and I think we treat our employees greater. And as a result, they're really good with our customers, and they really care about what they're doing. So, and I know this because I've heard it from other employees that worked at other restaurants, that they just shake their head like, you guys run such a top-notch operation. And I think that's, we're in the people business, you better have good people. That's second to location. People is what is going to drive your restaurant business.
And then I know from just having been to all three concepts that you have a consistent product. So that made from scratch model is tough to execute it, but you're doing it greatly. And when you go to a Copper Door, you get a great meal. And when you go to T-Bones, you get a great meal that fits with what you're expecting when you go there.
And it's especially challenging when you're making from scratch to be consistent. It's not, it's not like you're buying a frozen pizza and it's going to be the same every time because it was manufactured and we're making it from scratch. So consistency is definitely key.
And I know that Great New Hampshire is very committed to service. So when you think about, or when you train a new employee on delivering service to your customer, what are some of the things that you make sure they understand?
There's two really important things. One is we really encourage them to get to know our regulars because we have a lot of regulars. And when I say get to know them, they know about their families, they know about their health, they know about, and customers like that. They want to know that they're recognized and appreciated for their business. And so what ties in with that is we encourage our service staff to be at the table when you're at the table. How often have you been out when the server comes by and they drop this off and they just keep zinging right along? It only takes 1 second to pause and make eye contact so that guest knows that you're actually doing something and engaging with me and it's not just robotic. And we talk about that too, about changing the things that you say instead of always showing up and, hi, my name's Amanda, I'm going to be taking care of you today. There are other ways to do it. And we don't tell them exactly what to say, but find your own personality to bring out and not have it be so robotic or just, I guess the word is robotic, disingenuous,
Another thing I've noticed about your team is the longevity. So you mentioned that one of the keys to your success is your investment in your employees, and you have employees that have been around 30 plus years, if I remember correctly.
I just got out of a meeting with two of the longest term employees. Dan Fraser, he's been with us for 32 years. Rebecca LeMay, she was an original employee. She's 84, so it'll be 33 years this year that she will have been with us. And she's the director of dining room operations. Started as a server, and Dan Fraser started as a line cook, and he's the chief operating officer. And if you look at the top 100 leaders in our company, from the corporate office to the managers to assistant managers, 80% of them have been with us 10 years or longer. And we're very proud of that. There's a reason for it, and we're proud of it.
And I know you're celebrating your 30 years.
I just did. Yeah.
Congratulations.
30 years. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I think that you could essentially call yourself a made from scratch leader. And so I'd be interested in hearing what are some of the things that you think are important that leaders should exemplify, show in when they're working with their teams.
So specifically with my leadership team, which is Dan, Mark, Lisa, and Nicole. It's 5 of us.
Yeah.
We all treat each other as peers. Even though I'm the CEO and I'm the top guy, it doesn't feel like that at all. It's we're very open and call each other out when there's something not right, but we do it with respect. And I think that has been probably the most important thing for me with the leadership team. Over the years, like you just mentioned that I'm a 30-year employee, but Dan and Rebecca have been here longer, yet I'm the CEO. So over the years, it was really important as I grew in my position to continue to show respect and understand that not everybody's going to excel at the same rate. And because I started as a server and I was a line cook and I was a kitchen manager, I'm able to engage and talk with frontline employees. I can talk with CEOs of multi-million-dollar restaurants, groups around the country. It's a gift that I just was given that I'm able to communicate at different levels.
Yeah. Now, when you think about your team, I know you have a very impressive team of people. What do you think, when you think about building your team, what were some of the things that were important to you?
Make sure that they're smarter in the area that they're overseeing than I am, because I'm not an accountant. I was educated with chemistry, so I couldn't do the accounting that's being done, marketing, although I did do it for a while, Nicole has surpassed what I ever did. And so it's just important, I think, that you got to have the courage to put smart people around you, and don't worry that they may know something that you don't. That's a pretty simple way to look at it, but that's how I've operated.
And I know you were involved with teams and sports growing up. Do you think that impacted your leadership?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I think because I was captain of every basketball team that I was on. And getting back to that communication level, I was able to be the conduit for the coach to the other players, and sometimes I would get scolded because somebody else didn't do their job. But I was the communicator.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that's so important in leadership, is the ability to bring teams together and to communicate to them on an ongoing basis. So you've built a leadership development program over the last 2 years. Why do you think that is important for your company and for your
Well,
people?
I didn't build it. velocityHUB built it. But it was my initiative to take that step, to go outside of our company, to find a company that would give our managers some more training when it came to leadership. And part of it is, because what we've already talked about, they're all made from scratch leaders that never had, let's call it, formal training on how to be a leader or a boss or a manager or whatever you want to call it. So when we approached Brendan, he, it was right up. It's exactly what you guys do. So, and our managers have absolutely loved it, and it's absolutely had impact on, I'd say, virtually every single one of them. That they first of all, A, appreciated that we're investing in them, and B, that they actually have an opportunity to learn something that they could use for the rest of their life. And that's kind of how we phrased it for them, that yeah, sure, it's going to help while you're here, but it's going to help you at home. It's going to help you in maybe your next career, that these are life skill sets that you're going to learn. And so I think that again, it shows that we have that care and concern for them above and beyond the job.
Sure. That's great. Thank you. So just having observed the company over the last few years, I know you've expanded beyond the restaurant concepts. And can you talk to me a little bit about your other businesses and why you chose to go into those?
Yeah, so the Scribbit is our graphic design and web development company. It started out with me recruiting our graphic designer. He actually approached me. He did a lot of graphic design for us over the years, and at some point he joked and said, I should come work for you. I'm like, okay. And so he came and worked for us, and I promised him that if we grew that business beyond doing the graphic design for our company, that he would become a stakeholder in a company that we would develop. So we did. We developed the Scribbit. It's now got 4 full-time employees. They have dozens of clients besides great New Hampshire restaurants, and I love having the access to them. If for other businesses that have to work with graphic design or web development companies that are off-site, it's just not as easy. But they're right there, and it's been great. The other one is Critic, and Critic it's a website, critic.com, Kriddik. It's also an app that you can download. And my partner and I developed this out of, it was him and his son's idea, and he came to me with the idea, and I jumped on it because of my frustration with the social media review sites. So what Critic is, it's a private feedback system for businesses. So consumers download the app. It's 3 simple steps that they rate the product, the service, the atmosphere. They can give verbal text back on their experience. They take a picture of their receipt, which validates and qualifies that they were actually at the restaurant. And then they submit it. It goes directly to our managers or whoever the store designates. And the managers can communicate directly back through the app, through the dashboard, and it actually gives a notification to the user that we're talking back to you. So it's really a 2-way messaging system for us.
Yeah.
And the thing we love about it is, A, it's private, it's honest, it's qualified, and what we've found is that about 80% of the feedback that's coming in, they're calling out employees by name, which is giving us the opportunity to reward the employee, or they're calling out the specific meal that they had, so we can go back in the schedule and look and reward that cook. So it's been a very great tool for us, and we literally are just taking it out of beta right now, and we'll be launching it down in the DC area and in the Boston markets come October.
Yeah, and I think that's a great addition to your commitment to service, where you're creating a post-meal opportunity for you to serve your customer, and then that commitment to your employees too.
And the thing that's interesting is, just take Copper Door for example. They've been open for 5 years. I added up all of their Facebook, Google, TripAdvisor, and Yelp reviews, and they've been getting about 20 a month on average. If you add those all up, with Critic, we've been getting 25 a month.
Oh, wow.
So it's the model was, we believe that there are people out there that want to share things, but they want to do it privately. They don't necessarily want to be out on the web and have it public and sit there forever.
Yeah, and I think you're also creating the intimate conversation with the customer, because it's on the table. It's something that you become familiar with right away when you're at the table, where you may not always think to go on Yelp or go on one of these other sites, but you're integrating it into the service now. So I know that you are celebrating your 30 years here at Great New Hampshire. Just when you look back on your career, can you walk us through from your perspective, beyond what we've already talked through, on where you started and where you are now, and what were some of the key milestones for you?
Yeah. Well, so after I left graduate school,
and you were a chem major.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And you're young. I was 22 years old. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought, I got a scholarship. Let's go get my master's. And then when I got there, it didn't feel right inside. And I called my dad and said, I'm giving up the scholarship. I'm coming home. And he's like, what are you gonna do? So I started waiting tables at Hudson T-Bones. And within 3 months, one of the managers said, you ever think about being a manager? And I said, no, but I'm 22, I'll give it a shot. Yeah. And so I did, and started training to be a kitchen manager. I hadn't worked a day in my life in a restaurant kitchen. Trained and learned on the job. And then over the years just grew into higher positions and became a dining room manager and a general manager. And then I got to a point in the early 90s, I had 2 little baby girls, and I said, I want to be able to do more than just be a general manager. And I approached the 2 founders at the time, 3, excuse me, and said, I really would like to do more. And when the Cactus Jack's location came up, they asked if I wanted to be a partner. So I, at the time, borrowed money from my dad, borrowed money against my car, and paid my dad back, paid my car back. And from there, I just kept growing in the company and became an owner within the T-Bones group in 2000. And then hit another milestone of 2 of the older founders were absentee at that point. They were 15 years older than me. And one was on the West Coast, one was out on the East Coast in Maine. And I just approached them and asked for the CEO job.
Oh, really? Good for you.
I just said, I've been running this company now for the last, at the time, it was about 6 years. I said, and I really would like to be the top guy, being able to steer the ship where it needs to go. And they said, okay.
What year was that?
2004.
Okay, so.
And then in 2007, one of the other founding partners, Mark, he's only a few years older than me. He and I approached the 2 other founders and bought them out of all the existing restaurants at that time. And then we opened Laconia, and then we opened Copper Door and all these other things. So we retired them, basically.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing. And thinking specifically about the Copper Door, because I know you have a new one coming in now. So back in that time, the Copper Door when this location was growing, and as you think about the one that you currently are building, what were some of the lessons you learned from the first time that you've implemented the second time around?
Well, I think I said that we're scheduled to open in November. We're shooting for October.
Okay.
The latest will be November. There's no way we're going to delay it any further because we opened this location on December 12th. I will never forget it because it was 3 weeks before Christmas and we were completely overwhelmed. I mean, it was, I'd never seen that much volume. We were on a wait, busy from the moment we opened the doors to the moment, it was last call. It was just insanity. And so I will never do that again. We also learned that, and again, this goes back to our culture and our company, that it's really hard for us to bring in managers from other restaurants or the outside. It's been difficult for us to do that. We've never found success because they just don't get up to speed with how we operate things. They're so used to how they did things the other way or the other restaurant. So that was a mistake we made with Copper Door. We brought in a couple people from the outside. They were great guys, but they just didn't acclimate to how we did things.
Yeah.
So with this Copper Door, we're moving. They're all going to be existing managers from within our company, not just Copper Door. And then we're going to move about a third of the employees from all the different restaurants to Copper Door. And one thing that I'll point out that I think kind of goes back to what you're asking about the difference between the concepts, that a lot of people say, well, how are you going to take a T-bone server and bring him to Copper Door? The only difference is the menu, the big wine list, but the systems and the controls and the culture are all the same. There's absolutely nothing different. They ring in food the same way. We have the same 5 steps of service. We have the same controls for the kitchen managers and how they order food. It's all the same. So all it is just a different concept for them. So this time we're going to backfill with experienced, great New Hampshire restaurant employees.
There you go. And I think that you're kind of rolling it out a little bit slower. There's not as much press that you're letting it take.
We're doing 0.
Take control of itself.
In fact, except for this.
Yeah.
But we've already had a few people say, can we do an article? I'm like, I'd rather not yet.
Okay.
We had so much pre-press for this restaurant, and coupled with, it was just so much pent-up demand. I mean, you can't miss this location. It literally is the only red light stop from Portsmouth to Keene on an east-west highway. That's it.
Right.
It's the only place you can stop. So it's thousands of cars are driving by, seeing this building going up, going, oh, I wonder what that's going to be.
Yeah.
So there's just a lot of pent-up demand.
That's a good problem to have.
It is,
sure.
but it's always best to open a restaurant. They call them soft openings. You just open softly, and then it just kind of grows.
Yeah.
Because the staff, they don't know the steps that they need to take on the very first day. It takes some repetitiveness to understand that when someone orders a bottle of Hess Cabernet, they know to go right there. But it doesn't happen that way on the first day.
Yeah, those efficiencies. So when you were talking about your career, one thing that was weaved throughout pretty much was that no matter what position you took, and I think you're speaking to that with the Copper Door and then with all the positions you've held, that leadership translates. So just because you may not have had everything you needed to be a kitchen manager, you were able to bring your leadership and learn and be open to other people that are around you that may know a little bit more, but you absorbed it and you took it further. So for people who, let's just say the millennial generation, that's what we're calling the folks that are entering the workforce now, given your experience working with your teams and staff and your own career, what were some career tips that you would give?
I think millennials need to give the company that they're working for a chance. In other words, try to stay a little longer. I mean, I know I'm an anomaly. In 30 years at a company, that just doesn't happen anymore, and it doesn't happen for a lot of people. But I think they got to at least give it a year or two, maybe 3, to see if you can get grounded with that company and provide something for the company.
Yeah.
I think sometimes young people go into a company thinking, well, what are you going to teach me? Well, no, it's the other way around. You're being paid to perform, and of course they'll teach you, but you just need to find that balance.
Yeah.
The other thing I think which would be helpful for them, I'm going to give you 2 examples of successful millennials that work for us. One is Megan Fournier. She's our catering director, and Nicole Barrera. She's known as Chef Nicole. They're right on the cusp of millennial. I'd throw them in there. But they've been with us, well, Nicole's been with us for 10 years. But and this is the part that I wanted to get to, that they have been really great about engaging with the community and networking. That's, it's a different part. It's not like part of their job, but it's a part that they enjoy, because they get to be out in the community, they get to engage with people, they get to talk about the restaurants. So I think that's an important aspect for millennials. I mean, like you get to go out and engage and network and do different things. I think it's important because it allows you to talk about your company.
Okay, great. And I think one last question I'll just throw to you. Thinking about this upcoming Patriots season, what are some of your thoughts?
I honestly think that they have the strongest team yet.
Yeah.
I think the rest of the NFL is rolling their eyes, going, not again. I have friends all over the country from the National Restaurant Association. Oh God, I have so much fun with them.
Yeah.
A lot of texting banter going back and forth.
And I think not only a display of greatness, but a display of leadership there too.
Oh, for sure.
Team.
I mean, Belichick he's in a different level, totally different level.
Yeah.
I love watching them.
Yeah, me too. All right, Tom. Well, thank you for having us here today at your beautiful restaurant. We enjoyed having you and this conversation.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next time.
Okay. Thanks.